Before the season began, many Carolina Panthers fans would agree that the unit on either side of the ball that we had the most confidence in was, of course, the offensive line. But the unit that we have the most optimism for is, of course, the young and ever improving wide receiver room. So in this video, we're going to take a quick look back at just what were the preseason expectations for our young wide receiver room, chronicle that all the way up into this most recent Week 11 game against the Atlanta Falcons, and talk about just whether or not our young guys are living up to those expectations. And we're going to get into all of that right after this.
I'm from the foe. You dig?
Welcome to The Way I See It with Jamario Rashad. This is a Carolina Panthers fan channel. Please do me a favor by hitting the like button, and please make sure you subscribe as I am on my way to 3K. Trying to make sure my channel continues to grow as this season plays out in the favor of my Carolina Panthers. Now that that's out of the way, let's go ahead and get back to the video. So prior to the season beginning, the Carolina Panthers, of course, would be in the top 10 of the NFL draft, and they would select Arizona superstar wide receiver Tetairoa T-Mac McMillan with the 8th overall pick, bringing him in to be the unopposed wide receiver one for the Carolina Panthers wide receiver room. In doing so, before the season began, just a week or so prior to preseason being over, there had been a lot of murmurs and a lot of rumors in the NFL channels, and whether it be online or whether it be on television, there was a lot of noise about the Minnesota Vikings potentially looking to make a trade to bring in a receiver to supplement the absence of Jordan Addison, who was going to be out for the first couple of games for their season. The name that kept coming up was former Minnesota Viking Adam Thielen. And eventually, before the season started, we were able to come to terms with the Minnesota Vikings to send Adam Thielen back to his hometown in return for what ultimately became what's basically just a 4th round pick. In doing so, that automatically showed the Carolina fans as well as the NFL fans at large that Dan Morgan as well as Dave Canales had the utmost confidence within this young wide receiver core, who we all knew would of course consist of Tetairoa McMillan, Xavier Legette, and former undrafted wide receiver Jalen Coker. Unfortunately, very soon after trading Adam Thielen, we had an unforeseen thing happen in training camp where Jalen Coker unfortunately went down for an injury. And when that happened, we had to scramble. We had to figure out who exactly is going to come in and supplement this offense in a way that we saw Jalen Coker being able to do. Of course, you have to understand, Adam Thielen, for the better part of the last 3 years while Bryce Young has been here, has been a safety blanket for him, whether you see it as peppering him with targets or force feeding him the ball. Adam Thielen was the most reliable target that he has had, not only in his rookie season, but in his shortened season last year. He was also pretty much the best not even pretty much, he was the best wide receiver on the roster. So Dave Canales and Dan Morgan having the confidence that Jalen Coker, just an undrafted guy in his 2nd season, would be able to come in and take over for all of those snaps and pick up all of that production, showed just how much they were expecting to put on Jalen Coker's shoulders. So with him going down, we had to scramble. We had to find a replacement, somebody that could be thrown into the fire with our two remaining young guys in T-Mac and Excel. And that was a familiar face that had been making news all over the summer, as he had come back to football after being out for, I think, 2 seasons. Us hearing about his health struggles and him getting back into shape. Him being this guy on your screen right now, that being former Clemson Tiger Hunter Renfrow. A lot of Carolina Panthers fans are, of course, from North and South Carolina, so they have a lot of history with Hunter Renfrow. So his story was one that a lot of people followed, and they wanted it to work out with him being actually a part of the active roster. The way that actually went about happening was not the way that any Carolina Panthers fan wanted it to go. Initially, Hunter Renfrow did not make the roster. We instead chose to keep a young guy that many people, including myself, questioned why is he making the team in Bryson Tremaine, who has proven his worth tremendously throughout these first 11 games of the season, showing that not only can he be a pass catcher, but he's also can be thrown out there essentially as a second or third tight end, just being so good at blocking. We chose to keep him on the active roster and cut Hunter Renfrow, offering him the opportunity to, come back on the practice squad. But with the injury to Jalen Coker, that practice squad opportunity was just foregoed, and we went ahead and signed him to a contract to be on the active roster, not even a week after choosing to, electing to let him go from the team. So you have to imagine that whether the cohesion of the offense and the all of those things would just be a little bit off because what they had practiced with all summer was not going to be on the field, that being the trio of their young receivers. So in the absence of Jalen Coker, what exactly were the three top receivers in this offense able to do? As you can see in the 6 games, I'm not sure if I said it, the 6 games without Jalen Coker, we have Tetairoa McMillan with 351 yards, averaging 58.3 yards per game, as well as scoring 2 touchdowns. We have Xavier Legette, who unfortunately missed 2 games early in the season. They said that it was because of injury, so I'm going to believe them on that. But conspiracy would tell me, and a lot of people could assume that this was a situation of a soft benching because of his struggles through the first 2 games of the season, only amounting up to the total of 8 receiving yards. So through the first 6 games of the season, Excel only had a total of 50 yards, averaging 14.6 yards per game in the 4 games that he was active for, and scoring 1 touchdown. And of course, we have the guy that we just talked about, Hunter Renfrow, 89 total yards, 14.8 yards per game, and 2 total touchdowns. As you can see, those the second 2 guys on your screen right now, your second 2 starting two of your top 3 receivers were only amounting to 28 receiving yards per game in the absence of Jalen Coker as well as Adam Thielen. So one could only surmise that this was going to pick up when Jalen Coker did come off of IR, and he missed more than the initial thought to be 4 games. He missed 6 games initially. So as you can see, things were not very bright. Although Tetairoa McMillan got off to a hot start, he was everything that we wanted him to be. Xavier Legette was not able to find his footing, as well as Hunter Renfrow struggled mightily to work his way back into being a serviceable receiver that did more than catch a 5-yard and then and go straight to the ground. So once we got past week 6, we got to or was it weeks, whatever game, we got to go up against the New York Jets. That would be the return of Jalen Coker, the first game that we would see him play, and you would see his impact not only just for himself and the numbers that he was able to put up, you would see what he was able to do indirectly for the other 2 wide receivers that he would line up next to throughout the next 5 games. That being Tetairoa McMillan, who remained to be steady Eddie, 368 yards, but now he's averaging close to 75 yards per game, and he also scored an additional 2 touchdowns because we have the threat of another pass catcher like Jalen Coker out there on the field. But Tetairoa McMillan was going to be Tetairoa McMillan no matter what. The player that it is most apparent that Jalen Coker's presence is helping is none other than Xavier XL Legette, whose production has more than tripled across the board now that we have another guy that can be a actual pass catching threat on the field. Excel in the last 5 games has had 214 yards, averaging 42.8 yards per game, and he has scored an additional 2 touchdowns on top of that. The infusion of Jalen Coker, 118 yards, 23.6 yards per game, and he scored a very important two-point conversion that actually went towards us winning this last game against the Atlanta Falcons, which is the game that I want to highlight more than anything, because this is when the culmination of the preseason plan and everything that we saw and everything that Dan Morgan, Dave Canales, Brad Isaac, everybody that was in charge of putting this offense together. Atlanta week 11 was when we got to see all of those things come to fruition as Dave Canales was able to dig deep into his bag of tricks because he had all of his guys to be able to utilize out there on the field. In just 1 week, in week 11, Tetairoa, 8 catches, 130 yards. We have Xavier Legette with the best game of his career. 4 catches, 83 yards to the tune of 20 yards per catch. And we have Jalen Coker coming back in his statement, I am feeling better. I am 100% back game. 4 catches to the tune of 52 yards, and of course, that all-important two-point conversion. In total in this game, these 3 guys had 265 yards total and 3 touchdowns, which would equate to 60% of the total offense and passing yards that our quarterback Bryce Young threw for in his record-breaking game, 448 yards. So our young guys, although it has taken some time, it is coming together. We are able to see what the Panthers brass saw before this season and what they were trying to do, and it is all coming together. Hopefully, throughout these last 6 games of the season, we will be able to see this come to fruition even more, and we will see these guys continue to ball out, man. But what do you all think about this episode, this video, talking about what we expected, what we got, and what we are now? I personally am very pleased with what I saw in this most recent game, and when I dug into the numbers and I saw just what impact game to game Jalen Coker has been able to have on the offense overall, I was more than pleased with that as well, man. So what do you all think? Make sure to leave your comments down in the comments section, and I'll be sure to get back to you then. But until next time, I am Jamario Rashad. This is the way I see it, and I'm out. Peace.